The President, please be seated. The chamber is now back in session. Before we proceed to counsel for Mr. Ieng to pose further questions to this civil party, the chamber would like counsel for Mr. Ieng at the same time to tell the chamber how much time counsel would need to put questions to the civil party, and how has time been shared with counsels for Mr. Kiew Sompon, because we only have just a quarter of the day for tomorrow's session for this testimony, including the moment when civil party is given an opportunity to express his emotion and suffering claims.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have approximately 2 to 3 minutes, 5 at the most. Five more minutes. Thank you. Sir, if we could go now to, sticking with the same topic, the date when your father was taken away. If we can look at D230/2/4.2 277A, and this is what was attached to your application on the 25th of January 2010, and you state the following there. During the regime, my parents, who were on Sector 20, Prey Vang Province Committee, were taken to be allegedly killed for being against the communists in Khao Chie Chien District, Kam Chie Mir District, Prey Vang Sector 20, in late 1975. And my apologies for my poor pronunciation. But here we have a date of late 1975. So we have 1974, we have late 1975, we have 1977 for the date when your father was taken away and allegedly killed. So can you please tell us, of the 3 dates, you said before it was 74. Are you sure it was 74 and not late 75?
Response. It is sure that it was in 1974.
Then may I ask, why did you have late 75 and then 1977 also as those dates? Why were you being inconsistent in placing the date of your father's disappearance?
Response. I already stated before that I did not say that my father was executed. He just disappeared in 1974. And immediately after that, in 1974, my mother also died. And she died because she saw my father being taken away. And I remember the date because it was the time when my mother passed away. And I apologize for being so inconsistent in the dates. And I believe that everyone in Cambodia would also experience the same problem in those days that our memory at some point is deteriorating.
Now, you also mentioned that there were others that were taken away, and we mentioned some of them. That was Mr. Mao Cheng, a Mr. Sim Ka, a Mr. Kiev Saron, and some others. How do you know that they were taken away at the same time as your father? And do you know the reasons why they were taken away and spared?
Response: I didn't say that Khieu Saron, Mao Chiang, and Mr. Sim Ka were being taken for execution. It is true that people who knew that my father had been taken away were these three individuals. Mr. Khieu Saron was my father's nephew when Mr. Chiang Mao was his workmate, and Mr. Sim Ka was in charge of the messenger section at Sector 20, and that's why I said that these three individuals were those who could support the idea that my father was actually taken away, and I just wish to be proven that my statement to be proven by these individuals that the statement I make is true. Mr. Sim Ka is in Phnom Penh now, and Mao Chie in the Kampong Cham, and another person, Khieu Saron, is with me in the same village now.
Mr. President, I have no further questions. Sir, on behalf of Mr. Ieng Sary, Mr. Anguadom, and I would like to thank you for coming here to give your evidence, and we wish you good luck and safe travels. Thank you for appearing here.
The President, thank you, Counsel. We would like to now hand over to Counsel for Mr. Khieu Samphan to pose questions to the civil party.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good afternoon, Mr. M. My name is Antagise, and I'm the co-international lawyer for Mr. Khieu Samphan, and I have a few questions to put to you. Some of these issues have already been covered by my colleagues, but there are one or two factual points that I do want to ask you to tell us about. I know that all of this goes a long way back, and that it's certainly not easy to recollect precise dates. However, sometimes it's easier to refer directly to events, and I'd like, if we can, together to try and see if we can focus on the events and from them get a more precise idea of your narrative. And the first point that I will begin on, in your statement in the hearing here, you said that when you were about 10, you went to live with your great-uncle in Phnom Penh. And when he heard the rumblings of war and felt that the security situation was not good, he sent you to your parents in Sector 20. And so my question to you is, when you went to Sector 20, after staying with your doctor uncle, was that after or before the Lon Nol coup d'etat?
I was there before the coup d'etat.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. With my colleague, Councillor Carnavas, you talked about a second major point, which was the date when your father disappeared. And today in the chamber you confirmed that this was in 1974. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. It was in 1974.
D'accord.
Very good. So if we take that point, and if I quote what you said to the hearing on the 23rd of August, it was 7 seconds after midday, and you were talking about your stay in Vietnam. And then you said that after you had left Vietnam, my father, Sopim Takom, asked me to be the sector doctor. I seem to recall that I was aged somewhere between 20 and 23. So if I'm working around the date of the disappearance of your father, and if your father was party to this decision for you to work as a doctor, then I think we can agree that you must have worked in Sector 20 before 1974. Do we agree on that basic fact?
I stated earlier that I do not recall the exact date, but it was after I returned from training in Phnom Penh. Then my father sent me for continued education in Vietnam. And if it was in 1974, then that could have been the date.
J'ai bien compris.
Thank you. A third basic date that I want to establish with you is the date of your wedding. In this courtroom, on the 23rd of August 2012, slightly after 4 o'clock, 4:04 to 4:08, you said that it was a 17th of April. And you said that I chose the 17th of April as the date of my wedding because my family attended my wedding, and without their support and their presence when I got married, I would have refused to get married. Now, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I seem to understand that the 17th of April was a date when your family could be with you because it was a public holiday to commemorate the victory of the 17th of April 1975. Am I correct in making this interpretation of your testimony?
This was, according to my recollection, it was on the 17th, but I dare not say which year exactly it was, but it may have been on the 17th of April.
Et
Thank you. On the same page of the draft transcript, after 1600 hours. You said I rarely did get married. Was it the 17th of April 1977 or 1978? I'm not entirely sure, but I got married in one of those 2 years. That's what you said in the courtroom. And so I'd like to come back to one or two of your previous statements, and I'd like to begin with the information form, victim information form, which is D22/3963. Now, if I understood what you were saying today to my learned colleague, this is a document that you wrote down yourself by your own hand, and what you say therein about your wedding is as follows. The French ERN for this is 00786287. In English, 00751868. And in Khmer, it's 00573980. And the paragraph that I want to quote to you is the one where you talk about your wedding. And in the French version, at least, it's the fourth paragraph from the bottom. And what you say is that your training in Phnom Penh came to an end, and I quote, I was elated when the training ended a month later. Upon returning to my village, the Angkar was arranging my marriage with my current wife. At the time I dared to protest the marriage arrangement. Due to my protest, they sent me to work on a farm for 3 months. And then, just to jump a couple of sentences, you then go on to say that they brought you back again. There were many wounded people in your sector, and you subsequently agreed with the Angkar. And it was on the 17th of April 1977, during the Khmer New Year, the marriage of 3 couples was organized. And that's what you tell us in D22/3963. Is that adequate to refresh your memory, sir?
Yes, that was the summary of what I stated, and I also recall that that date was actually the date I was referring to.
Thank you. If I can turn now to a different document, D230/2/4.2.277A. The ERN in French is 00822271. In English, it's 00777625, and in Khmer, 00508426. And in the French version, it's the last paragraph. And you say, in early 1977, I was made a cadre in Sector 20 hospital and was forced to get married to a fellow cadre along with 3 other couples. So once again, Mr. M. Does this refresh your memory? And do we agree that in both of these statements you referred to your wedding in 1977?
Yes, I do.
Bien, donc nous avons au moins un repère précis.
Good. Well, that means that we do have a precise frame of reference here. In other words, you got married after your training in Phnom Penh in the Khmer Soviet hospital. I think we agree now on the sequence of events, do we not?
Yes, that is correct.
Je vous remercie de cette précision.
Thank you. We can make headway on that basis. Now, today, answering my colleague from the non-chair team, Council Po, you quoted your arrival in Phnom Penh in order to study at the Khmer Soviet Hospital as being in July 1976. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. And if I correctly understand what you have told my colleagues of the civil parties and to my defence colleagues today, this training session that you underwent in Phnom Penh, which was meant to last 1 year, in fact only lasted for 9 months, and because there were problems in your zone and you were needed in the hospital in Sector 20. Is that correct?
Yes.
D'accord. Donc toujours pour bien nous situer
Thank you.
dans le temps.
So just
Vous avez,
to keep this
si je
framework
par
of
rapport à
dates,
ces éléments que nous venons de poser, vous êtes à
You
Phnom Penh de
are therefore
juillet
in
76
Phnom Penh from July 1976
pendant 9 mois. Et après,
and
retournez
for
dans
9
votre
months,
secteur.
and then you go back to your sector. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. The President, witness, please be mindful of the fact that we have to refrain from putting any leading questions to the witness, because the last couple of questions are rather suggestive. So counsel is advised to avoid any leading question. Otherwise, this is not to be granted.
Si je peux me permettre de préciser,
Mr. President, if I could answer you on that, they were not leading questions. I was trying to just see with the witness what he had stated in his previous declaration so that the chronology of things could be clear. And I believe that in these past days we have talked about quite a few events, but without having a very precise chronology. And my aim was to make things clear so that M.Un could look at his previous statements and so as to have a clear framework of reference. So I wasn't really trying to lead the witness, Mr. President. I was just trying to seek clarity on the prior events.
because the questions that you have put to the witness was rather confusing, because in 1976 he attended the political training session in Boracay. It was not the date when he came to work in Phnom Penh. Actually, he came to work in Phnom Penh in June 1975. And if you ask the question that elicits the yes or no answer from the witness tend to be confused. That's why I alert you of the question to be put so as to avoid any leading questions to the witness.
Bien, je pense que la meilleure façon est de faire.
Thank you. I think the best way is to have the civil party make things clear himself. Mr. M. Eun,
À l'audience, c'est à l'audience d'hier.
in yesterday's hearing, when you were answering the co-prosecutor who was asking you about the education session in Boracay, you were asked if you knew what the duties of Kyo Sampon and Nun Chair were, and yesterday you said that you knew what their functions were. You said that Kyo Sampon was President of the State Presidium and that Nun Chair was
Président de l'Assemblée des représentants du peuple du Kampuchea.
President of the Kampuchea Assembly of Representatives of the People. Now, Mr. M. Un, what I want to know is if those functions were explained to you by Sopim before you came to do that training in Phnom Penh at the Khmer Soviet Hospital.
I knew about their roles from Mr. Sapum and my father, and I learned from them about the roles of Mr. Kyo Sampon and Mr. Nuon Chea. So I actually learned it from others. I only heard their voice as well as the words of mouth other people, but I never met them in person. I only encountered with them when I came to work in the hospital and I was attending the training session.
Mr. President, if you will grant me leave, I would like to show document E3, an E3 document to the civil party. I don't believe that Mr. Emon has seen the document yet. It's an E3 document, E3/165, entitled Document Relating to the First Congress of the First Legislature of the Assembly of the Peoples of Kampuchea, dating to 1976. And I would like, if I may, to show an extract from that document in which the respective positions of Mr. Nuon Chea and Mr. Kyo Sampon are awarded to them.
Est-ce que j'ai votre autorisation, Monsieur le Président?
Do I have your permission, Mr. President?
The President, you may proceed.
Alors, pour la première page que souhaite montrer à Monsieur M. Eun, il s'agit
The first page I want to show Mr. M. Eun
00
has the French ERN 00301353. In Khmer, it's 000536 53632, and on to the next page. And in English, it's 00184-066. Mr. M. Un, do you have the document and the right page before you on the screen? In that case, I'd like to read an extract from that document to you, which, as I said, is about the first Congress of the first legislature of the Assembly of Representatives of the People of Cambodia. And you say that Mr. Saupum and your father talked about Kyo Sampan and Nun Chair's duties and functions, and apparently during this legislative period, in the fourth paragraph in French, it says that at the same time the representatives of the Assembly of the People of Cambodia were appointed, and also the members of the different committees. And the Standing Committee of the Assembly of the Representatives of the People of Cambodia is composed as follows. Perhaps I'm going too fast, says the speaker.
The President, Council, can you please repeat the document numbers and the relevant ERN numbers so that it is clear for the record?
Pas de problème, Monsieur le Président. Donc, la cote.
Yes, with pleasure, with Mr. President. Let me begin with Khmer. 000-53632. And I believe that it goes on to the next page as well. In French, on page 20 of the document, ERN 003-01353, and in English 00184-066.
Donc,
Mr. M. Un, this is what the document says. At the same time, the Assembly chose the composition of the Standing Committee of the People's Representative of Assembly of Cambodia and the composition of various commissions of the Assembly as well. The Standing Committee of the People's Representative Assembly of Cambodia has the following composition. 1. Comrade Nun Chair, Chairman. And that is where I will stop for the moment. But if you go over the page, French ERN 00301-354, in Khmer 000-53634, and in English 001-840-68, says the speaker. In number 5, it refers to the nomination to the State Presidium. After careful and detailed discussion of their various qualities in every aspect, the Assembly approves the selection and appointment of the Presidium of State Democratic Cambodia with the following composition. 1. Comrade Kyo Sampan, Chairman. 2. Comrade Saupum, First Deputy Chairman. And once Mr. M. Un has appraised himself of these facts, I'd like him to look at page 1 of E3/165. and the date of the document is 11 to 13th April 1976. And so my question to the civil party is as follows. If the appointment of Mr. Nuncher and Mr. Kirsampon dates back to the 11th to the 13th of April 1976, then it seems to me to be difficult for your father, who died in 1974, to have spoken to you about the duties and functions of Kirsampon and Nuncher. Could you please enlighten us on this?
I know there were some controversial facts there, and the truth was that my father did tell me about that. I don't know, I cannot recall whether or not he told me when he was alive well before the appointment, but I remember that he was the one who told me before the appointment, because he was an official at that time, and he commuted to Phnom Penh back and forth very often at that time, and he talked to me about the work of the Khmer Rouge, and he understood the internal working structure over there as well. And when they sent me to Phnom Penh to attend the training, it was according to him as well. Probably my statement was not clear, but that was the truth, I could tell the court.
What exactly did your father tell you before 1974 when he passed away on the subject of Kirsampon and Nuncher? Did he talk to you about these titles that you mentioned to the co-prosecutor, in other words, President of the State Presidium for Mr. Kirsampon and Chairman of the Assembly of Representatives of the People for Mr. Nuncher? Did he talk about these things with you?
I have made statements so far, but I can only recall certain facts which I indicated in the statements, and I can only enlighten you where I can recall.
All right, so if I understand you correctly, when you answered in the hearing yesterday to the co-prosecutor that you understood the duties and functions of Mr. Kirsampon and Mr. Nuncher, when you saw them in Borikela, does that mean, in fact, that you got it wrong and that your memory is somewhat faulty, or simply that it's just not true?
Response: I did not make a mistake yesterday. The content of the statement was correct. I may have made some mistakes in the dates.
Very well. I suppose I'll just have to accept that answer, Mr. President. I see that the hour reads 4 p.m. I do have another line of questioning. However, is this an appropriate time to adjourn, or shall I continue?
The President. Thank you, Counsel. Indeed, it is appropriate moment for the adjournment of the day. The next session will be resumed tomorrow at 9 a.m. For tomorrow's sessions, the Chamber continues to hear the testimony of the civil party. Questions continue to be put by Mr. Keo Sampan's counsel. Mr. M. Eun, your testimony is not yet complete, and the Chamber wishes to hear your testimony tomorrow as well. Court officer is now instructed to assist Mr. Witness, rather civil party, during the adjournment and make sure that TCW 480 is ready in case the chamber has completed this testimony of the civil party early. Then we would proceed to hear the testimony of TCW 480. Security personnel are now instructed to bring all the 3 accused persons to the detention facility and have them returned to the courtroom by 9 a.m. tomorrow. The court is adjourned.
សូមអញ្ជើញក្រោកឈរ